Oh my God. Okay, hold on here. You know, this never seems to be working the way that it's supposed to work. Hello, hello. Come on. This is supposed to work in a particular way, but it's not working in that way. Come on. Hello, hello. All right, let's see if it'll work now. Hello, hello. Oh, okay. Well, I've ruined the introduction for my Dhamma talk, but that's fine. So what are we going to be talking about today? What's going to be going on here? Well, it's a little bit something like this. It's the cowboy on the prowl, concerned with the truth. This disclaimer. These teachings and this presentation is not for the faint-of-hearted. Those who are moving forward into this practice, into this perspective, are forewarned that one cannot go backwards, one cannot turn back once they have heard this profound knowledge of the Dharmakaya, or direct pointers towards the way that things are, whether we like it or not. Whether the person who's talking about it knows what they're talking about or not. This is beyond the ego. Now there's a few things I wanted to talk about and share about today. So as we get started, let's get some W's in the chat. And hey, you don't have to put a W in the chat. Well, of course you don't have to do that at all. And you also don't have to do that only whilst the live stream is going on. You can also do that anytime when you come across this live happening, this live situation, whether it's in the past or the present or the future. This is going beyond that. This is going beyond the 3D, beyond the 2D, into the 5D realm of truth. So if it's alive for you, then it's alive for me too. I am a messenger of your own mind, let's say. What you think about me is the thoughts that you have within your own mind. Period. Now, Today is a new day. I vow to go through it in mindfulness. You don't have to wake up early to sing that song. You can sing that song in any moment as long as it's in the here and now. It's helpful to be alone. To be alone together. Because this stepping back and this widening out, this opening out of the heart, whether you can feel it or not, the body, whether you can feel it or not, the mind, whether you can feel it or not, it isn't about you. It isn't about anyone else. I'm really grateful for everyone who's here and all the people who participate in this Sangha, this community of practice, because it really gives me something to wake up to. It really gives me the inspiration and support to practice meditation seriously. And to be able to live my life in a way that's, for better or worse, only focused on this path. And there's a real energy, a sense, maybe a seventh sense that recognizes that what is already here, what is already here in the now, is all that I need to be open to death. And that to be open to death in this way, or this impermanence of the ego, this impermanence of these temporary states of experience that we identify with, that's what really allows us to be in life and with life, together with life. Ooh, so nice. All of these expectations and ideas and judgments that we have about our thoughts and our lives and our goals and our plans. They are so empty, so temporary, so impermanent, so changing. If only we could stop our ego, stop our dreaming state based in these narratives, these words, these frameworks of thought that have been so deeply ingrained in us, programmed into us, long enough to allow the tide of thinking to recede, to walk on the beach full of these artifacts, these interesting aspects and elements of our direct experience in the here and now. You know, what we seem to possess, what we seem to be owning, and just to look at it without self-identification, look at it without the belief of a true person that is perceiving these things. And sadly enough, our true persona has been chained and bounded to correct spelling, to ownership, to possession. This is a part of my inspiration, because I was watching this video, this talk by a really interesting guy. He's got a lot of subscribers on YouTube, very famous guy. And he's been doing this practice of non-ownership. So the process that he went through is quite interesting. And he has some meditation training. He's listened to and learned from older guy, a little bit older than me. He's learned from Ram Dass and Thich Nhat Hanh, and he's attended a lot of Vipassana retreats, like very high-level Vipassana guy. I think he's even done some of the like longer than 10-day retreats where you go into a box for like 30 days continuously in the dark, and you're just sitting there meditating. Oh, it doesn't sound good to me, but I'm sure he probably got a lot out of it. And so he started this process by giving away all of his money, gave away all of his bank accounts. He gave away all of his identification. So he got rid of his birth certificate, his social security card, his license, his passport, all of his possessions. And the pinnacle of it was he went to this park somewhere in California, somewhere in LA, nude, and like kind of deep into the park. And then he started borrowing. So he like borrowed some clothes, and he borrowed a blanket, and he borrowed a sleeping bag. And he's just kind of been living that way. And now he's giving talks on nonviolent communication, and he's giving talks on, he mentioned something about credit unions being good, but a lot of his teachings are about the inauthenticity of ownership, I'd say, or the inefficacy of it, and his lived experience of practicing like that. And he also talks about, the importance of feces, or composting our feces, and how good that is. And I'm a big fan of that. Although some of my favorite fruits that I would probably use my feces for aren't necessarily possible to grow in America, but so I've only watched a little bit of his stuff. But it's interesting. And two glaring things that show up for me in that, and I have something else to share about dreams, but two things that rear up for me in that is one, that this guy might be very, very enlightened. I don't know. I haven't met him. Like, I think he's a really skillful practitioner. But regardless, this kind of extreme asceticism, I'm not saying this is his main point, but we may very well not have any money. We may very well not have any bank accounts or identification, and we may very well be living nude in a public park in LA somewhere and trying to embody this path of non-ownership. But the true detachment, the true vipassana, the true Dharma is to renounce everything now, to see through the veil or this appearance that you own anything or have ever owned anything, because you are already not. This is where the real wisdom and compassion begins to express itself, and this perspective is very, very important to have in community. That I don't own this, that I don't own this. It's not possible for me to own anything. It's not possible for you to own anything. And one of my main teachers, Sayadaw Otamatara from Myanmar, he really embodies this, because he's a super skinny, 20 years as a Buddhist monk, thousands of followers, hundreds of meditation centers, super Buddhist monk. Like, even to the point where, like, you imagine a Buddhist monk, he's the unimaginable version of the imaginable Buddhist monk, right? And he'll be sitting on a throne in front of tons of people, giving Dhamma talks and lectures and doing so much work. And you'll see him maybe all the time. Even somebody is asking him a question, he's going through his phone. He's responding to Facebook messages, or looking through all kinds of different things like that. And people say, "What's going on? You're a monk. You're looking at your phone. I'm asking you a question. What's going on?" And so the real practice of mindfulness and detachment is unconditional. Just like death, the reality of death is unconditional. It comes to meet you anywhere, everywhere, instantaneously. And mindfulness and detachment has to be practiced like that, or realized like that. That the ego or the thinking mind doesn't get to make excuses or hold opinions or share thoughts about the practice of mindfulness and detachment. Because the way that this is, the way that reality is, it's like how liquid is already wet. Even to call it wet is maybe to do a disservice to liquid and to wetness. But I really enjoyed his talks. And the other aspect that I picked up from his talks is that really, most people in the world, the way of the world is not, because some people asked him questions afterward and shared some things, the world is just not primed or ready for this way of life, for this insight, for this teaching, for this practice. People just don't get it. Even people who consider themselves to be Buddhist or Buddhist teachers, or etc., etc., etc. And what keeps us from not getting it is this true vipassana, or this true special seeing, this true wisdom and compassion that is not based on the notion of a self, where a self cannot exist. Separation cannot exist. The old adage, "I'm rubber, you are glue, so whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks back to you," Actually, we're all made of rubber. We're all made of glue. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And if anyone's to blame, who's to blame? Who is who? I challenge who to an arm wrestling match. Okay? And how am I going to win? With mindfulness and detachment. All right? And hey, I know more than anybody that I want to get into the gym. I want to build up my strength, but that's really not the point. The point is not to fight against death, but to realize death or to realize loss, to realize the movement of the trees in the wind in the here and now, and that is mind. That is your mind. This is your mind, whether you like it or not. And so the Chip Chip's here. The Chip Chip heard the Dhamma. That's why Chip Chip, come along. Look at it. I don't think it's sweet enough to come to me, but it might just be. A little bit shy. Okay. I also want to express some gratitude. I think, I'm not for sure, but I think we've had some of the, some of this audience is actually younger, younger people, and some of them have sent me some lucky money, some kind donations, just a little bit here and there, because the young people, they don't have so many resources. And, I just want to express that that's the point. It's not, we need to build a temple or we need to make these large, great donations, or how much we give or how much we serve or how much we volunteer or how much we offer. But it's actually our willingness to self-sacrifice. And as I've talked about before, the more you have, the more difficult it is for you to practice generosity. Because all those things that you have, they build up into this structure of like a foundation of ownership. And you're comfortable with that degree of ownership. And then when you just give a little bit of that, you're actually not experiencing much of this self-sacrifice. You're not connecting with the practice of renunciation. As we get farther on the path, we actually can practice our generosity through detachment, right? Through our willingness to be mindful and to detach and to offer that to one another, which is the greatest offering. But this is an offering of the Dhamma. But this isn't a kind of callous detachment. It's a open consideration. It's a deep listening. It's a presence without a capacity to cling on to views. It's very important. So, gratitude for those young people. Very curious, very nice kitty. Oh, very friendly, big eyes. Oh, yeah, so that's a big thing for me, is that if we are able to re-look at our view or our position about ownership, about personally owning things and being in control of things. This gives a complete opening to the way that we live together in community. A totally creative framework in which we can support each other, collaborate with each other, communicate with each other, that's not based on our personal thoughts and not based on our personal attachments. But that in itself is always going to be extremely limited. You have to have the wisdom aspect or the wisdom element to see that, oh, I never actually owned these things at all, and that I don't have to do anything. This is when waking up becomes a true choice rather than an anxious response to life, to a situation, to an experience. A freedom choice. To give, to receive, to listen, to share, or to not. Really funny cat, just kind of looking out from the corner and looking at me. Because I think it uses this couch from time to time to relax. I can see its hair on this couch. A little bit scared of this tripod. The person who I was talking about, their name, because actually I would recommend, if friends here are looking for something to check out and to listen to, this would be worthwhile, is Robin Greenfield. Robin Greenfield. Thank you, Stop Fear. Very kind. The cat is doing the funny things. You know how you can you can look out or you can look over from an angle, look around something to see someone? The cat keeps doing that. So the other thought that came up, because this morning I was very tired and kind of going back to sleep, waking up, going back to sleep, but not in too much of a severe way where it's like you have to wake up or you have to go back to sleep. But I was going back to sleep because I felt so relaxed, and I was noticing how the content of dreams, and I think we can't always remember our dreams fully. There's probably a lot going on that we can't fully remember. But I notice very closely, right, that the content of the dreams, it's very word-based. It's very thought-based. There's a structural, word-based or thought-based element to it. And so dreams can be very scary. I know in the past I've had problems with nightmares. And I don't get nightmares so much anymore, but in the past I would have a lot. Feeling of being trapped, feeling of being stuck, feeling of being almost like imprisoned in my own mind. And, and so that the strength of that word-based element, or that strength of the conceptual framework for how we experience ourselves in the world, that can seem to be really disappointing, because if even in our dreams those words and the story-based nature of reality can pervade so deeply, well, then we're kind of in a hopeless situation. But this quality of wakefulness, this quality of getting up, this quality of refreshing and restarting and and going into life and being in life as it is totally not based in words. So even if there's a subconscious continual stream of thoughts or identity or predilection of views and things that we identify with, when you're awake, when you step out of that attachment to the state that you feel that you're in, that you need to go back into or try to get out of, if you can actually step into this wakefulness, this natural awareness, this natural clarity where you don't have to ask anybody for anything. Nothing needs to be explained to you, and you don't need to be explaining anything, and you don't need to be doing anything, and you don't need to be trying to avoid anything that's going on, right? In this state, it is overflowing. It is a constant overwhelm, a constant overstimulation of non-thought-based experience, non-story-based elements, everywhere, like as if you were looking into a kaleidoscope of reality that thoughts couldn't reach. And so we don't need to use that to try and struggle to get enlightened, or try and struggle to get out of our ego or to get away from what we're experiencing, but actually just to settle into that awareness of what is already, and how free, viscerally and completely and totally free, what is already is from the story of self, the story of ego. Now you can put on a story, you can put on whatever story you want, and you might have, nice to see you, Chesh, you could have a story being put on you by the outside world as well, right? Some relationship, some situation. You might wake up and find yourself strapped into a straitjacket. It can happen to the best of us. And yet in some way to feel into being alone, right? And here this is a unique experience because we get to feel alone together. And if I was in a room with 19 people all sitting together with me, listening to me, maybe I would not actually be able to access that so much. So, this sense of being alone, this experience of being alone, it doesn't need to be something where we're seeking for this experience or this relationship or this place or this situation to come about. This sense of aloneness can actually be a refuge for our, even beyond practice, our freedom, the naturalness of being with ourselves. Of just being where we are. And what I've learned in this path is it's not just a matter of me relying on my own mind or relying on my own practice or relying on my own my own wealth, my own material power, but that by cultivating our own internal sense of generosity, by cultivating our own inner quality of being a good person, or our virtue, or our willingness to do what's good and our unwillingness to do what's bad, or what causes more suffering, what causes less suffering, and our willingness to cultivate, to be in a meditative state, right? A state that is wholehearted and open and non-judgmental and isn't propagating unwholesome emotional dysregulation. That we can take refuge in the others. We can take refuge in the Sangha. We can take refuge in the Dharma master. We can take refuge in the place that is not owned by ourselves. We can make use of many things without the need for ownership. But when we're so fixated on an ownership of our own minds, the only thing that we can take refuge in is our own personalistic thoughts. Okay, so stop fear. My experience is that visualization will likely happen. So it's not unlikely that you will have visualizations or images in the mind, or even sounds in the mind, or complex experiences in the mind when you meditate. But unless you are meditating under the guidance of a realized master, or a meditation master, or your guru or your teacher who's guiding you through and instructing you in visualization practice of some sort, then you should not emphasize at all to really try to do anything in meditation. The only thing that you should try to do, if anything, is to focus on something very, very simple, something very grounded, something very stabilized, such as your breathing. And so whatever visualizations happen, come back to the breathing. Right? It's same for, maybe you could try to do a mantra. Sometimes I practice mantra meditation. So, Namo Guan Shu Yin Bu Sa. 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 So even you do something like that, or just Buddho, 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 you can repeat the name, kind of the name of the Buddha in the mind. You still keep it simple, keep it stabilized, keep it basic. Don't search for some kind of special experience. Well, home is really where we already are. So if you are a father, if you are responsible for your parents, if you are responsible for someone in your life right now, then you have to take responsibility for that. But it will be very difficult to take responsibility for that in a wise and compassionate way if you can't recognize and remember that home is where the heart is. No matter what is said by the outside world, no matter what is said by the internal world, home is not about saying things. Home is not about thoughts. Reality is not about thoughts. Your body is not about thoughts. The true mind is not about thoughts, not even about the body, or this body, or that body. So, how I work with it in terms of, because I'm a human being, so, I have parents, I have family, is that I'm as here for them as, they're able to make use of, or, as much as they need, as much as they would wish. And maybe I wish that they were more interested in the Dhamma or the Buddhist path, but we all have to be able to go our own ways. And we have different beliefs. I'm kind of a religious man. I'm a little bit religious. So, I'm a Buddhist, and in our Buddhist religion, for someone to become a monk or someone to step into this path is a real blessing for all members of the family. Anyone who has a karmic affiliation or connection with that person who has become a monk for so long, or even becomes a monk temporarily, and then decides to take on this kind of lifestyle, then that's seen as a real blessing for the family. So I hope that that is the case. I don't know. I know my grandma is very appreciative of my path, and I think my parents are as well. But we're going a little bit deeper from the habeas. What does habeas corpus mean? Yeah, we're going a little bit deeper than the habeas corpus of our like our intellectual ideas of what it means to help and serve and to be in a certain position, because there's all kinds of basically utterly horrible people who think that they're helping and think that they're taking responsibility for this person with a disability, or this elderly family member, etc. And they're basically just lost in their own ego. So me doing everything that I can to not be lost in my own ego, I think is the best thing I can do for my family and for everyone that I care about. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to practice meditation. We don't have to be a good person. We don't have to be a bad person. We don't have to not watch this. We don't have to stop watching this video in the same way that we don't have to start or continue watching this video or being here in the live stream. There's no have to in the path at all. You don't have to be alive in the same way that you don't have to die. But if you have to be alive, then you have to die. If you have to be a good person, then there has to be a corresponding bad person in there that you're not choosing to be. So remove the have to and remove the ownership. It's like we have to punish someone. You don't have to punish anyone, just in the same way that you don't have to help anyone. But in terms of being a human being on the planet Earth and having certain intentions or interests that correspond with this body and mind, there are things that are more skillful to do and things that are less skillful to do. And those tend to not be too complicated. The complications are not in what needs to be done to take care of the earth, or what needs to be done to take care of the body and the mind, or to take care of the environment. The complications are in the greed, the anger and delusion, and our unwillingness to face and unpack the state and the experience and the side effects of greed, hate, and delusion. And to look at these terms and to look at these aspects of our human ego and our human experience very closely. Our greediness, our always wanting more, our anger, our propensity towards frustration, and our delusion, our constant relationship with non-practical, complicated thinking. And from a dharmic point of view, from a mindfulness and detachment point of view, it's very easy to start working with and unpacking those things. But if we don't have an active relationship with generosity, with detachment, with virtue, with mindfulness, with cultivation, with the teachings on the path, then yeah, it's a madhouse all the time. It's a madhouse everywhere we look. And we can't look outside to get the answer to the hall of mirrors. We have to face the hall of mirrors within ourselves. And that's once again why it can be very helpful to be alone, but to be alone with the right view, with the right intention, with the quality of openness. a meeting today with a good friend of mine who's a black American Buddhist monk, Bante Panya, and he's also here in Vietnam. So get a chance to meet together and to sit. He's one of my Dharma brothers on the path. That's right. Woo-sa. 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 So that's a question. That's a question you can ask yourself. Am I able, regardless of the entire story of your life, the entire story of spirituality, good and bad, right and wrong, high and low, am I able to come back now, in this moment, to a natural awareness that is not based in the ideas that I have about myself, others, or the world? Is that accessible? And how do you answer a question like that? Let me give you a hint. It's got nothing to do with what you think. It's an invitation. The question is an invitation. Am I able to return to my center of direct experiencing, of breathing without confusion, without greed, without frustration, without complicated thoughts? Without any need to do that, without anyone forcing me to do that, without me trying to be getting something by doing that, without me trying to be avoiding something by doing that. Now, in terms of the term Hinduism, Hinduism is like a term that was given from a particular point in time, looking backwards towards all these different yoga schools, traditions, philosophies, ways of practice, ways of spirituality in India from this certain period of modern period of time looking back. So if you're using the term Hinduism in that way, Buddhism is just a school of Hinduism. And even Hinduism itself is kind of a vague term, so it doesn't really apply to spiritual paths very well. But if you are using that term in that way, then Buddhism is just a branch or a school of Hinduism that was a sadhu-specific school or a renunciate-specific school that was so prevalent and so successful and so developed that it was separated, considered to be separated from the Hindu or yogic schools of India. But really, of course, it's not separate. So taking Hinduism out of Buddhism or Buddhism out of Hinduism is not, I think, not very realistic. What we can say for sure, in terms of the various schools of Hinduism or yogic spiritual traditions, Buddhism, as a tradition of sadhus, is the highest and the greatest, is the most alive and continued from the time of the Buddha or the time of ancient India. But it's not really necessary to see things in that way, greatest or highest or whatever. You just use what's practical, what's in front of you, what's accessible. If you can't use what's accessible, you're never going to be able to use anything else. And you need to be willing to meet accessibility with generosity. What does that mean? It means that you're interested in something. You have access to something that pertains to what you're interested in. And when people don't have this spirit of generosity, this willingness, it's almost like devotion, then the moment that you reach that point where you're meeting something that you're interested in, you're now trying to take what you want from what you're interested in, rather than giving yourself to that point of contact with what you're interested in, so that you can learn more according to your own experience. And how a lot of people view that, because greed is replaced with generosity, when they meet that contact point, they're now going backwards and trying to pull that contact point backwards with them into their own thinking. And that's just, you're never going to get anywhere going that way. That's why desperation can often lead to devotion. And people who are a little bit more comfortable are more trapped actually in their own comfort. They can identify their interest and their curiosity, but they can't follow through because they're too comfortable with what they already have in a way of attachment. So the contentment with what we already have is not based in attachment. The contentment with what we already have is using what we already have to see beyond having and to see beyond experientially seeking more. In a practical way, in a very practical kind of way. And so this quality of criticism, this quality of critique, it tends to simply be based in selfish attachment, self-fixated attachment. And it doesn't really lead anywhere. And so what I've found, because sometimes I'll have I came here to this I'm in Vietnam, and I came here to this coffee shop in Vietnam, and they don't have quite the same degree of the same kind of coffee culture generally that they had in Taiwan, where I just was. So you're going to be a little bit hard pressed if you're just walking around to find a high quality cappuccino. We're not in Italy. So this is a cafe latte. And so I can say, well, hey, if you guys bought some beans or you got a machine or whatever, you could start offering some high quality cappuccino. But where does that lead to? Where does that go? It just leads to a personal preference, a personal fixation on taste. And oftentimes when we are approaching things from a place of criticism, giving our commentary in a critical way, that's all that it's about. We're not actually trying to offer anything. We're not trying to learn anything. We're not trying to share anything of value. All we're expressing is our inability to actually say what we mean. I don't like that so much. And so instead of just saying, I don't like that so much, and being honest about our position, we go into all these kind of nonsense perspectives, critiques, personas, narratives, and storylines based on our not liking something. But everything that we share, everything that we offer, everything that we point to is only as valuable as much as we are able to open to an exploration of that, without our clinging on a preference. So it doesn't matter. Hey, bud. Hey, pal. Hey, lady. It doesn't matter if you like that. It doesn't matter if you don't like that. Hey, Rob. It doesn't matter if you like that or you don't like that, ultimately. And that's where your practice point is, right? That's where the practice life is. It's not important if you like or dislike this. But if you feel there's an importance there, for the good, for the bad, for the whatever, that's the invitation to explore. That's the invitation to share. That's the invitation to be vulnerable. That's the invitation to show up, wholehearted, and to give yourself, to give everything that you have to give to a deeper understanding, to an exploration of that that's not based on like or dislike, but a discussion, an exploring, a sharing, a listening. And this is where we actually have the space to be blunt with each other, if that's where we want to take it, And there's also problems in that because we can't see through our own ego. We can't see into the emptiness of what it is that we're doing. And that's where we have a Dhamma relationship. We have a relationship based on mindfulness and detachment rather than a relationship based on interpersonal egos interacting. Because if that was the case, if my life was my ego, my personal ego, separate from everything else, throw me into a loony bin as quick as you can. Get me in there. And, give me a high dose of Thorazine and whatever zines you got, give it to me. Because I'm done. I surrender, right? So that interpersonal ego is a temporary coming together of causes and conditions that is entirely free from ownership and is simply an invitation towards responsibility. And the greatest responsibility is to be mindful and not to be attached, to give, to share, to offer, to help. So what do you have to give? What do you have to offer? And the beauty of the spiritual path and the beauty of the Buddhist path is that we all can offer our entire body, our entire mind, our entire heart to the practice. regardless of where we are, regardless of the situation that we're in. And you try to practice that way. Whether here, whether there, you go for a walk at the park, or you go to sit down at a coffee shop, or you find yourself waiting to get your driver's license renewed, or you find yourself at a Buddhist monastery, or you find yourself swiping on TikTok, and then you step back. You're mindful enough to recognize that you're swiping on TikTok, you step back and give. I'm channeling, I've seen that, I don't know anybody here has seen that guy who channels an alien, Balthazar. He closes his eyes and then he's very expressive with his, his sharing. He says he's channeling some alien. So we're all channeling some kind of alien, I guess. I don't know about central control, but we have a chance here to practice mindfulness and detachment. And this is wonderful. This practice of mindfulness and detachment is wonderful because we feel the ego. We can feel our ego. We can feel that separated self-entity that wants profit and not loss, that separate self-entity that wants praise and not blame, that separate self-entity that wants pleasure and not pain. And we go right through that. We go to the core of our being and we find our heart. Our heart that is not ego-based, our heart that is not desire-based, our heart that is not fear-based, that is completely accessible to each one of us, that doesn't need to be explained. You know, the heart of all the gurus, the heart of all the Buddhas. As shameful as we may be, as depressed as we may be, as anxious as we may be, as identified with a life that we're worried about as we may be, or may not be. You know, and that's the may not be is all the more wonderful to go beyond. There's no need to be a special person or to have a special person. This experience, as it already is beyond personas. So use every appearance to go beyond personas. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes it's impossible. But that impossibility is just like a trick or a dream. Even in that, you can go beyond that, through that, with that, whatever it is. And if the conditions are really suitable, really lovely, really ideal, then we actually have the encouragement and the space to stop activities of the body, to stop activities of the mind, to stop activities of speech, and to settle into this body and mind and go beyond it. So every inch, every sense, every thickness, difficulty, heaviness in the mind, in the body, in our ego view is not a barrier, not a problem, but this constant invitation to see the wideness, the clearness, the stillness, the beyondness of the witness, the beyondness of the viewer in that. So we're looking at this big glob, this big blob, this big muck of the ego. And in being the viewer or the witness of that, we are beyond that already. That's what we're learning. We're already beyond that. But it's a very profound and mysterious and tripped out and kind of weirded out view. Just like I used to talk about this a little bit more, I would think about this a little bit more, because we don't have to think about a lot of these things, because in a sense it's already like this. So you don't need to think about it or try to get that, but just recognize it. And so it's like you, your identity, your ego, yourself, right? All your memories, all your experiences of the body moment by moment, all your experiences of the mind moment by moment, etc. And of course the ego or the self or the you exists in a social spectrum. Otherwise, who would you be? Or what would be the point of having an ego or thinking about your ego, right? The real you that is in this social space has none of your thoughts, your memories, your personal moment-by-moment mental or physical experiences. The you that's walking around all the time is basically the Buddha version of you, because what everyone else sees is mostly empty. And so, in a sense, we're kind of learning to see through this false appearance that we think exists in the outside world, but actually doesn't and actually never has. Sure, but this is genderless as well, so it's not him or her. The idea of you, the notion of you, is a joke. But not in the usual way of a joke, because we can often be like laughing at another person. It can be like laughter in discrimination. This is the laughter of non-differentiation. This is the laughter of no self. Hey! No someone, no place, no situation, no experience. That you don't have to and can't and nobody realizes. So it's very convenient in that way. Very relaxed. They say in Thailand, sabai sabai, which means relaxed and okay. Relaxed and fine. How are you doing? Sabai sabai. Just fine. TikTokers, I'm closing this live stream on TikTok, so if you want to follow, go to the YouTube. The YouTube channel is Monk Life Meditation. Monk Life Meditation. Because I need to use this to see if my friend is arriving. Monk Life Meditation, Morgan and Mad Dog and Michelle. Oh. Okay, so on his way. Now, in terms of the social world of making mistakes, making errors, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Mistakes that if I could look back and be the director or the creator of even my life for the past couple of years, many things that I would change in a certain way. People who I've hopefully not turned off from the path, but probably turned off from me as a path maker. Where it can certainly make sense for me to say I'm sorry. I wish that it went another way. But the real way in Buddhism that we practice saying I'm sorry is our internal practice of repentance and repair. So we identify certain actions or decisions or ways that we've been in the world through this body and mind that we identify and say, hey, I could have done better. I wish that I would have been able to do better. I wish that I would have been able to run the Discord server in a more skillful way, or to sustain it in a more skillful way. Things like that, come to my mind sometimes. But actually, we understand that this originates from our greed, our anger, our delusion. Okay? And that those points of mistake that I did or you did in the outside world are points to come back to ourselves and to look at the ways and the feelings, the ways that we acted that are unskillful, and we say internally, I see that arose from greed, anger, and delusion. I see that arose from a lack of wisdom, a lack of compassion, a lack of stability in heart and body and mind. And I vow to not be like that again. I vow to learn from that experience. So we practice to be worthy of the forgiveness from those who we've harmed, and to repair the negative actions that we've done by how we live our lives now. Repentance and reform. We may not always be able to identify those things that were unskillful or wrong or could have been better, but we can recognize that we've done a lot of things that were unskillful, unwholesome, not ideal. And just like through the repentance chant that I'll offer now, just one verse of it. Oh, my ancient twisted karma, born of beginningless greed, hate, and delusion, formed of body, speech, and mind, I now fully atone. So we heal those errors by facing reality as it is within ourselves, and knowing and seeing that we've made errors, and those errors have originated from our wanting more, wanting, our internalized lack of equilibrium within ourselves, so that subtle sense of tension and stress was brought out through our egos, through our identity, our fear, and the same way our delusions, our lack of clear seeing. And so, we work through that not by trying to explain ourselves to other people, but by transcending that version of ourselves that was bound up in that greed, in that anger, in that delusion. And how do we do that? We do that now. We do that through the practice path of what seems to be now. We atone for errors. We atone for unskillfulness. We atone for wrong thoughts or wrong ways of thinking in ourselves, and our affiliation with those wrong thoughts in the world. And my friend who's a black American Buddhist monk, that's not Brother Diamond. Brother Diamond actually disrobed maybe like a year or 6 months before I disrobed, before I stopped being a monk. This is Bhante Panya, who I think we did have on the Discord or did a live stream with, but it was quite a long time ago. So some people may not remember him. Maybe I'll do a video with him today, I'm not sure. That I'll post later. But he's a really cool guy. He's coming to Seattle in like a month, and he's going to be doing some talks and teachings there. He's a good friend. He's also a little bit like me with non-sectarian Buddhism. So he ordained in Cambodia. He lived in the forest, and this is like a black American monk. He lived in the forest in Cambodia for a few years, and then he went to Thailand. He spent some time, he's in Vietnam now. And he ordained also in Taiwan. So he was a Theravada monk, he's Mahayana monk kind of now, but more flexible, non-sectarian. He's got a lot of nice robes, a lot of cool beads and things like that. Way more fashionable than I ever was as a monk. We have to practice meditation seriously enough to get these glimpses of seeing through the reality of our egos. Not that that ego will be wiped away or completely dissolved or gotten rid of, but that that ego will be transparent. So our actions and ways of being don't entirely stem from that ego, but can also stem from our seeing through that ego. Seeing through that appearance of a self with desire, that appearance of a self with fear, that appearance of a self with greed, anger, and delusion. Through that, if we don't have this view, it means that everything in our entire lives is built through this contraction of separation that's not actually there to begin with. And most of the world, most of the people do not have this, apparently, this seeing through that ego, and so that's why, everybody basically is doing the same thing. All coffee shops are basically the same kind of coffee shop. All restaurants are basically the same kind of restaurant. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Because all the ideas that we have about all the ideas that we have are just kind of, it's not reliable, you know? And it's like, you know, my opinion, my feeling, we have to know how to see through our ideas that we have about things. That doesn't mean we have a particular kind of ego. I know I've met a lot of people online, and you know, especially when I was running the Discord, and we would have VCs, and we would interact. I know a lot of people who did challenge me or did have different views or opinions about me and what I was doing, but they also had capacity to see through their own ego. And the same, I've had people who, you know, were kind of just like following along and kind of listening to my teaching or my sharing as a form of entertainment and considered themselves very involved, but couldn't see through their own ego. And the moment that those people were challenged, boom, bomb blows up of ego, of self-fixated thinking, you know, of negativity, of attack. So that's the most important thing. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to teach people or tell people that you should have certain kind of thoughts and that you should go along with those certain kind of thoughts here or in general in your life, but that these certain kind of practices and teachings and pointers help us to be in this position of being able to see through our own egos. So it's not that right now you're going to have a certain result, but that in your life moving forward, the appearance of your life, it seems like your life is going to move forward, that you can actually be in those moments or have those experiences where life comes and hits you in the chest or hits you in the head, and you can see through that. You can see through this false appearance of separate self entities, and that's in a positive light and in a negative light. Whether it's liking or disliking. How to stop the ego's identification with the body? Let me check. Let me run that through the central processing unit. You just need to see the body as the body. Not you seeing the body, not you having the body. You need to spend the time or the moment to see the body as just the body. So there's no need for you to identify with it. It's just like a happening. It's like, how do I stop the ego from identifying with this glass? I just let this glass be this glass. I don't have to stop my ego from identifying with it. It's the same with the body. And when we have the wrong idea of the Dharma or the Buddhist practice, we might think like we have severe diarrhea. I don't think I have severe diarrhea right now, but I might. Or you really have to pee, right? And so you think, I have to control suffering. I have to go beyond suffering, right? So I just have to, and if I can't feel comfortable or feel free with an extreme, and maybe the worst of the worst is when you have extreme diarrhea and you also wanted to have a little bit of fun, so you had a lot of spicy food, etc. Now you're in trouble, and you're on the bus, and the bus doesn't stop, and there's no toilet on the bus. And anyway, you're not just there, but you're in Myanmar. You're in Southeast Asia. There's no toilets, etc. And it's 99 degrees, and there's mosquitoes everywhere. And your body is not clean. Your body's dirty and sweaty and hot, and you're in the jungle. Some stuff like that, okay? You get sick, there's nobody to save you. There's no Western doctor to say, oh, it's this, this, and this. No, no, no. They check your temperature, and then they say, okay, well, you might die, you might not. Just lay down and take some Tylenol. Let's see what happens. And it's not dissing Myanmar, just like it's not dissing having fiery hot diarrhea on a bus that can't stop. Okay? Or it's not even just a bus, maybe you're in a car. And that car, there's nowhere for it to stop. There's no toilet around. There's nothing bad about that, right? Just like there's nothing bad about going to the toilet when you have it. So the ego not identifying with the body is not based in this part of the body being good or bad, or your ego being in control or not being in control. It's just seeing things as they are, and then taking care of things as they are without attachment. But when we're initially stepping into the path and all we know about is doing with attachment, then it's very helpful to use the power of enduring, for example. So we need to taste the bitterness to know the sweet. We need to taste the suffering to know the freedom from suffering. It's helpful. It's a skillful way, a skillful means. And then we can see that my strong meditation and my real Buddhist practice doesn't mean that I need to sit as I'm bubbling over with violent, fiery diarrhea and struggling and tensing and I'll fight it. There's some good points to that, but that your meditation practice is also just stepping up, going to the bathroom, and it's probably not going to fix it because that stuff can be pretty tough. But that's also a part of the practice, right? So your body just as the body, your mind just as the mind, the environment just as the environment is the way that it is. And your ego is the thing that wants to not attach to it or figure something out about it. So you just let it be the way that it is. Hi-ho, sailor man. You just let it be the way that it is. You throw your hat up to the sky. It doesn't matter if you catch it or not. You just let it be the way that it is. For those who don't know, I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. Okay? I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. And Myanmar is a great country. I love Myanmar. Whoa! I would be in Myanmar right now if not for the earthquakes, because they shut down the visa right now for visitors. I wanted to go to Myanmar, but not possible right now. I'm in Vietnam. Or I appear to be in Vietnam. There's beauty over here. this dog a little bit funny before I petting it, and then it tried to bite my face. It jump up, it want to bite. A little bit funny. Maybe puppy. Oh, choo! It bite my toe. That's okay. Hopefully it doesn't have rabies. Yeah, just a little bit. Wow. Oh. I did get bite one time, and no, it's okay. Just
wait a minute.
One time in Myanmar, I got bit pretty good by a street dog. So then I took the rabies vaccine. Okay, thank you. No rabies, right?
He was, so it's okay.
Oh, he get a shot,
Yeah,
rabies
yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Whoa.
Is it hard?
No, it's no problem. Well, friends, with the beautiful sound of soft jazz here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, we're going to be wrapping up. And raining soon.
We will wait you.
Oh, okay. If it come, I will see. Yeah. So the rain is coming, and our live stream is also coming to an end. My American friend, who is also a Buddhist monk, who is a Buddhist monk, come to meet me at the coffee shop. So if we have any final questions or comments, you can share, you can ask, or just share the experience or what you learned from this live stream. And then we'll finish with a short prayer. Maybe you can hear the rain starting to come. And it's true what that man said, the rain falling on me. Wow. And you know, the truth of the matter is that this space of mindfulness and detachment within ourselves is really the safest space that we can experience, that we can be in. So give yourself the space. Oftentimes that means to be alone. The space of mindfulness and detachment. The space of being aware without being attached to views or ideas. Without judgment towards yourself, without judgment towards anyone else. And really enjoy and nourish that peace, that internal freedom from fear. We can all bring our hands together and we finish with the prayer. May whatever benefits we have gotten during this practice, this listening, this sharing, not be kept for ourselves, but offered out towards all beings throughout space and time. May whatever peacefulness, forgiveness, gentleness, openness, freedom from suffering that we have cultivated within ourselves during this time be offered and shared out and dedicated towards all beings throughout space and time. May it be this way. May it truly, truly be this way throughout beginningless, endless time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, friends, for being here. See you again soon.
Cold water.
Oh, thank you, thank you. everything conveys it, whether we see it or not. Just be open enough to receive it and to recognize it together with everything, always and forever, without beginning. Don't think, just swim.